Have you ever raised your hands in the stillness of the night, whispered your heart's deepest desires to Allah, and then waited, only to feel as though the heavens remained silent? That silence, my friend, is not neglect, nor rejection. It is a test, a lesson, and above all, hidden mercy. So many of us experience this moment of longing when our du'as don't seem to be answered right away. We ask for relief, for success, for healing, for guidance. And when the response doesn't come immediately, doubts begin to creep in. Does Allah hear me? Am I worthy of His mercy? Why is He delaying? But the truth is, the delay of your dua is often where the most beautiful wisdom lies. Allah, in His infinite knowledge and mercy, doesn't always give us what we want when we want it. But He always gives us exactly what we need in the time that is best for us. Let's begin with this. Every single dua you make is heard by Allah. Not a single whisper escapes His notice. The Prophet Muhammad, letter of faith, told us in an authentic hadith, "Verily your Lord is generous and shy. If His servant raises his hands to Him, He becomes shy to return them empty." This means that your dua is never wasted. It is either answered immediately, delayed for a time that is better, or stored as a reward in the hereafter, beyond what you can imagine. So when you feel like Allah is delaying your dua, you must understand, this is divine timing. But why does Allah delay? Imagine this. A child demands to eat candy before dinner. The parent refuses, not out of cruelty, but out of love. Because the parent knows that giving the candy now will harm the child's health, spoil their appetite, and prevent them from receiving something far better, more nourishing, and more lasting. This is a glimpse into how Allah deals with our du'as. He sees the full picture while we see only fragments. He knows the consequences, the hidden dangers, and the greater blessings that may await if He holds back. There are countless examples in our lives where something we thought was a delay was actually protection. Perhaps you prayed for a job you desperately wanted but didn't get it, only to later realize that it would have led you into a toxic environment. Perhaps you asked for a relationship to succeed, but it fell apart, only for Allah to replace it with someone far better for your deen and dunya. The delay of your dua is Allah's way of aligning your request with the right time, the right place, and the right outcome. The Quran gives us powerful reminders of this truth. Allah says, "But perhaps you hate a thing, and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing, and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not." This verse is a timeless reminder that delay is not denial, and answered is not forgotten. Allah knows the things that will bring you closer to Him, even when you do not. One of the most moving stories that illustrates this wisdom is the story of Prophet Zakaria, as for years he raised his hands in prayer, asking Allah for a child. He was old. His wife was barren, and still he never gave up hope. For decades it seemed as though his dua was unanswered. But when the time was right, when his faith had been perfected through patience, Allah granted him Yasha, a child of immense blessing. Imagine if Zakaria had lost hope and stopped asking, but he knew that Allah's delay was not a rejection. It was preparation for something extraordinary. In our own lives, we must learn to embrace this perspective. Every delay is preparing us for growth, for patience, for resilience, for gratitude. Sometimes the delay is because Allah wants us to come closer to Him. If every dua were answered instantly, would we continue to turn to Allah as desperately as we do when we are waiting? It is in the waiting that our hearts soften, our faith deepens, and our connection to Allah strengthens. Think about it. How many times have you found yourself crying, begging, repeating the same dua over and over? That persistence is not weakness, it's worship. The Prophet said, "The servant will continue to be answered so long as he does not ask for something sinful or cut the ties of kinship, and so long as he is not hasty." They asked, "O Messenger of Allah, what does it mean to be hasty?" He says, I prayed, and I don't see that I was answered. So he becomes frustrated and leaves off making dua. Subhanallah, the only way to lose is to give up. So the first lesson in why Allah delays your du'as is this. The delay is not a punishment, it is an opportunity to trust, to surrender, to prove your faith in His plan. Your dua is never lost. It is always either answered, delayed, or stored for you in unimaginable ways in Jannah. Now let's go deeper. Sometimes Allah delays your dua because He wants to give you more than you asked for. You may be praying for something small, but Allah has written something far greater. For instance, you may ask for relief from financial stress. But Allah delays because He is preparing you not just for relief, but for abundance and barakah that will transform your life. You may pray for healing from an illness, and the healing doesn't come immediately because through that illness, Allah is purifying you of sins, elevating your rank, and writing for you rewards that you would never achieve through your actions alone. In these moments, we must shift our perspective from why is Allah not answering me, to what is Allah teaching me through this delay? Perhaps He is teaching you patience. Perhaps He is teaching you to detach from dunya and attach to Him. Perhaps He is giving you the gift of humility, of realizing that you are not in control. He is. Another angle to reflect on is that sometimes our du'as are delayed because we ourselves are not yet ready. If Allah gave us everything we asked for right away, we might not have the maturity, the discipline, or the gratitude to handle it. The delay allows us to grow into the person who can receive the blessing responsibly. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't dig it up the next day because it hasn't sprouted. You water it, nurture it, and wait. And when the time is right, the plant grows strong and bears fruit. That is how Allah nurtures us through the delay of our du'as. And here is a comforting truth. Even when you don't see the answer to your dua in this life, nothing is lost. The Prophet let us that on the day of judgment, when people see the immense reward for the du'as that were never answered in this dunya, they will wish that none of their du'as had been answered here, so that they could reap all the reward in the hereafter. This is the hidden mercy that so many of us overlook. What feels like delay in dunya is actually an investment in eternity. So when you feel like your du'as are hanging in the air, remember this: Allah is not ignoring you. He is preparing you, protecting you, perfecting the outcome for you. Your job is not to dictate the timeline. Your job is to trust the one who holds time itself in His hands. When we talk about Allah delaying our du'as, one of the most important truths to remember is this: Allah loves to hear your voice. Every time you raise your hands, every time you whisper His name, every time you cry to Him in the darkness of the night, you are fulfilling the very purpose of your existence, to worship and to connect with your Creator. If Allah were to answer your dua instantly every time, that constant turning back to Him might lessen. But when He delays, He gives you a reason to keep returning, to keep calling, to keep remembering Him. And in that remembrance lies peace for the heart and strength for the soul. Consider the words of Allah in Surah Ghafir. Call upon me, I will respond to you. Indeed, those who disdain my worship will enter hell humiliated. Notice how Allah links dua with worship. Dua is not just asking for something, it is the essence of worship. The delay, therefore, is not a sign that your dua is being rejected. It is a sign that your worship is being extended each time you ask again, and He loves that closeness. Let's take another story from the Quran, the story of Prophet Yusuf. As a young boy, he saw a dream of greatness, of the sun, moon, and stars bowing down to him. But what followed was years of difficulty, being thrown in a well by his brothers, sold into slavery, tested by the wife of the Aziz, unjustly imprisoned and forgotten. Imagine if Yusuf had despaired, thinking, why is Allah delaying the fulfillment of my dream? But each delay was not denial. Each trial was shaping him, preparing him, and positioning him for the moment when the dream would be fulfilled in the most perfect way. And when it finally happened, Yusuf looked back and saw the wisdom in every step of the journey. He said, indeed, my Lord is subtle in what He wills. Indeed, it is He who is the knowing, the wise. This is exactly how our lives work. You may have a dream, a dua that you have carried for years, and the delay feels unbearable. But in reality, every step of the journey, the struggles, the setbacks, the waiting, is Allah preparing you for something greater than you could imagine. Just like Yusuf, you will look back one day and see that the delay was never a delay. It was the path to your destiny. Now let's touch on something very deep. Sometimes Allah delays your dua because He wants you to experience His names and attributes in a way that you would never know otherwise. For example, when your dua is delayed and you continue to call upon Him, you experience Allah as Sami, the all-hearing, the one who listens to every cry of your heart. When you remain patient during the delay, you experience Him as Sabor, the most patient. When the answer finally arrives after a long wait, you experience Him as Al-Latif, the subtle, the gentle, the one who arranges everything in the most beautiful way. Without the delay, you might never have felt the depth of these attributes in your life. This is why delay is a form of hidden mercy. It transforms your dua from a transaction. I get into a relationship of love, trust, and discovery. You begin to know Allah in ways you never did before. But here is another reality we must face. Sometimes the delay in our duas is because of ourselves. The Prophet taught us that sins can be a barrier between us and the acceptance of our dua. In one famous hadith, he described a man on a long journey, dusty and disheveled, raising his hands to the sky saying, "O Lord, O Lord." But the Prophet said, his food is unlawful, his drink is unlawful, his clothing is unlawful, and he has been nourished with the unlawful. So how can his dua be answered? This hadith is a reminder that while Allah hears every dua, our own actions can delay its acceptance. This doesn't mean that Allah is unjust. It means that He is guiding us to purify ourselves. If your duas feel delayed, ask yourself, is there something in my life I need to change? Am I neglecting my prayers? Am I holding grudges in my heart? Am I consuming haram wealth? Am I ignoring my parents or breaking ties of kinship? Sometimes Allah delays to awaken us, to remind us that our connection with Him must be whole, not half-hearted. But here's the hope. When you take that step to purify your heart, to repent sincerely, to realign your life with what pleases Allah, your dua finds wings. And when Allah finally answers, it comes with blessings beyond what you imagined. Another powerful aspect of delayed duas is that they teach us reliance on Allah rather than reliance on ourselves. When life is easy, when everything we ask for comes quickly, we can fall into the illusion that we are in control. But when we make dua and it is delayed, we realize that nothing moves without Allah's permission. This humbles us, it grounds us of our true place as servants of Allah. And in that humility lies strength, because when you rely on Allah completely, you become unshakable. Let's return for a moment to the seerah of our beloved Prophet Muhammad. He himself experienced the delay of duas in the most painful of ways. In Mecca, for 13 years, he and the early Muslims were persecuted, tortured, boycotted, and driven to desperation. They made dua constantly for relief, for victory, for freedom, but the relief did not come instantly. Instead, Allah delayed it until after Hira, until after years of struggle and sacrifice. And when it came in the form of a complete transformation, the establishment of Islam as a community, a nation, and a legacy that continues until today. If the duas of the Prophet were delayed for wisdom, who are we to lose hope when ours are delayed? This brings us to one of the most beautiful secrets of delayed duas. Allah may delay because He wants to give you more than you ask, in a way that impacts not just you, but others around you, and even generations after you. You might ask for a small blessing, and Allah delays because He wants to turn it into a legacy. You might pray for relief from a small hardship, and Allah delays because He wants to give you the strength that will inspire others through your story. The delay is never empty. It is filled with purpose. And let's not forget this. Sometimes Allah delays because He wants you to ask more. The Prophet, encouraged us to ask Allah for everything, even for something as small as the straps of our sandals. Why? Because every dua is a conversation with Allah. And the longer the conversation, the deeper the bond. If your dua is delayed, don't think of it as silence. Think of it as Allah inviting you to keep talking to Him, to keep asking, to keep pouring your heart out. One of the most beautiful examples of this comes from the life of Salama Ra. When her husband passed away, she was devastated. She made the dua that the Prophet had taught. O Allah, reward me in my affliction and replace it for me with something better. At the time, she couldn't imagine anything better than her husband. But Allah delayed the fulfillment of her dua and then replaced her husband with none other than the Prophet Muhammad left for himself. Subhanallah, could she ever have imagined that outcome? This is the power of a delayed dua. Allah may be writing something for you that is far beyond what you can comprehend right now. So the next time your dua feels delayed, ask yourself, what hidden mercy is Allah writing for me? Is He protecting me? Is He preparing me? Is He purifying me? Is He pushing me to come closer to Him? Because the reality is, every delay is layered with wisdom. It may break your heart at first, but when the answer finally arrives, or when you see the reward in the hereafter, you will understand that Allah was never silent. He was always giving, always loving, always guiding. And so the believer's response to a delayed dua is not despair. It is patience, persistence, and trust. We keep asking because every dua is heard. We remain patient because every delay is purposeful. And we trust because Allah is the best of planners and His timing is always perfect. As we reach the heart of this reflection, let's pause and remember something essential. The delay of your dua is never random. It is always wrapped in divine wisdom, even when you cannot see it. And perhaps the greatest mercy of all is this: through the delay, Allah is training your heart to love Him, not just His gifts. Think about it. If every dua was answered instantly, would your heart remain attached to Allah? Or would it become attached to the dunya, the blessings, the outcomes? The delay shifts your focus from the gift to the giver. It reminds you that ultimate peace, ultimate joy, ultimate fulfillment doesn't come from the things you ask for, but from the one you ask. When you truly embrace this, your entire perspective changes. Instead of waiting in frustration, you begin waiting in hope. Instead of doubting Allah's plan, you begin to trust it. Instead of feeling abandoned, you feel chosen to experience the intimacy of calling upon Him again and again. And this is why the scholars of the past used to say, if Allah delays the response to your dua, then rejoice, for He has granted you the honor of dua itself. Now, let's take a closer look at how the delay of duas can transform our character. First, it builds patience. Seba? Patience isn't just about waiting. It's about waiting with dignity, with faith, with calmness in your heart. When you practice patience during a delayed dua, you are shaping yourself into a person who can withstand life's storms. Second, it cultivates gratitude. When you finally receive what you asked for after a long wait, the sweetness of that blessing is far greater than if you had received it instantly. You cherish it more, you protect it more, you thank Allah more. And third, it nurtures humility. The delay reminds you that you are not in control, that Allah is the master of time, destiny, and outcomes. That humility brings you closer to Him, and that closeness is the real victory. But let's be honest, there are times when the delay feels unbearable. Times when you've cried so much that you have no tears left. Times when you've begged Allah in sujood and it feels like the heavens remain closed. In those moments, remember the words of the Prophet, know that victory comes with patience, relief with affliction, and with hardship. Every hardship carries ease within it. Every delay carries relief within it. You may not see it now, but Allah has already written it. And remember this: the greatest dua you can ever make is not for wealth or success or marriage or health. It is for guidance. Because if Allah delays worldly blessings but grants you guidance, you have everything. And if He grants you the world but withholds guidance, you have nothing. So even when other duas feel delayed, know that the very act of turning to Allah is already guiding you, already bringing you closer to Him, already placing light in your heart. Let's think about Jannah for a moment. Imagine standing on the Day of Judgment and seeing mountains of rewards piled before you. And you ask, where did all of this come from? And it is said to you, these are the rewards of the duas you made that were never answered in the dunya. At that moment, every unanswered dua, every delayed prayer, every tear you cried will suddenly make sense. You will wish that not a single dua had been answered in this world, so that you could receive all of its reward in the hereafter. This is the hidden mercy of Allah. What looks like delay here is actually treasure being stored for eternity. But here is a key point. While waiting for don't stop living. Don't stop doing good deeds. Don't stop spreading kindness. Sometimes we become so focused on one dua that we pause our entire life waiting for it. But Allah's wisdom is vast. Perhaps the answer to your dua will come through the small good deeds you do every day, through the smile you give someone, through the charity you give in secret, through the prayer you never miss. Your waiting should not paralyze you. It should mobilize you to keep moving, to keep striving, to keep building your akhirah. There's a story of a righteous man who used to say, "When I make dua, I am at peace, because I know that either Allah will grant it, or He will grant me something better, or He will remove a harm from me instead, or He will save it for me in the hereafter. How can I ever lose?" This mindset is the key. You cannot lose with dua. With Allah, you always win. It may not look like winning to the dunya, but to the believer, every delay, every unanswered prayer, every tear is an investment in something greater. So what should you do when your dua feels delayed? Keep asking. Never stop. The Prophet told us to be persistent in dua. Don't say, "I already asked once." Ask 100 times, 1,000 times, with sincerity, with humility, with tears. Keep your tongue moist with remembrance, your heart tied to Allah, your hands raised in hope. And trust that Allah is listening, Allah is planning, Allah is preparing. Maybe right now you're listening to this with a heavy heart, waiting for something so deep, waiting for a job, a spouse, a child, healing, relief, peace. Maybe you've been waiting for months, years, even decades. I want you to know, you are not alone. Every believer walks this path. Every prophet walked this path. And in your waiting, you are walking in the footsteps of the greatest who ever lived. Hold on. Don't give up. Don't let shaitan whisper to you that Allah has abandoned you. Allah never abandons those who call upon Him. Instead, shift your mindset. Instead of asking, "Why is Allah delaying my dua?" begin asking, "What wisdom is Allah teaching me through this delay?" Instead of feeling ignored, feel honored that Allah loves to hear your voice so much that He keeps you in the state of dua. Instead of losing hope, gain hope that your dua is being multiplied, stored, and answered in ways beyond your imagination. And when that dua is finally answered, because it will be in this world or the next, your heart will overflow with gratitude, and you will see clearly what you cannot see now, that the delay was the greatest mercy of all. So my dear friend, keep raising your hands. Keep whispering your dreams to Allah. Keep pouring your heart out to Him. Because every dua is heard. Every delay is purposeful. And every believer who trusts Allah's plan is never disappointed. And now I leave you with this. Whatever dua you've been holding in your heart, raise your hands right now, wherever you are, and ask Allah again. With sincerity, with humility, with love. Trust His timing. Trust His wisdom. Trust His mercy, and never stop making dua, because your dua is your greatest connection to the one who created you, loves you, and is waiting to grant you far more than you ever imagined. If this reminder touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you love, so they too can find peace in Allah's wisdom. And if you want to hear more reminders that bring you closer to Allah and strengthen your faith, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. May Allah answer your duas in the best way, at the best time, and with the greatest mercy. Ameen.